Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to view my final presentation in my Training High Performance Athletes course at the University of Florida. My name is Andrew Goldberg, and I have done research on the science of baseball, and we'll take a look inside at the mechanics of the baseball pitch and swing. Baseball is a sport that has been played since the 1800s and is commonly referred to as America's pastime. Taking a deeper look inside the game, we will find that there are a lot of science-based issues in the sport and a lot of knowledge that can help a coach properly train their athletes. I will first go over a few of the science-based issues in baseball, and then I will go into greater detail about some of the mechanics that go into pitching and swinging in the great game of baseball. First, I will go over 6 science-based issues that occur in the sport of baseball. There are many different issues that relate to many different areas of the sport, some having to do with the physics aspect of baseball and others having to do with the biomechanics and how that affects the human body. I have found these 6 issues that affect the sport of baseball scientifically. Number 1, the batter has less than a quarter of a second to make a decision, judge the pitcher's location, and also to make a properly timed swing with sound mechanics. Number 2, performance-enhancing drugs have played a major role in Major League Baseball, and this affects not only an athlete's body, performance, and overall health. This can also affect an athlete's image, as performance-enhancing drugs are a banned substance in Major League Baseball, and they are looked down upon by all in the baseball community and fans. No player who has been caught using performance-enhancing drugs has ever made the Hall of Fame. For a coach, it is important to instill these values in athletes at a young age and let them know that training practices are a better way to reach the results that they desire. Number 3, after the dead ball era ending in the 1920s, the composition of the ball was changed and it became more lively. This shows how the changes of materials can also affect statistical output and training for baseball. The per season output for the whole league in home runs went from about 500 per year in the dead ball era to around 1,500 per year after the composition of the ball was changed. They found that the ball was harder and naturally one that was more elastic. As we continue with the science-based issues in baseball, number 4, the repetitive nature of the sport can cause injuries, which most commonly include mild soft tissue injuries, muscle pulls and strains, ligament injuries, sprains, cuts, contusions, and bruises. Another injury risk that can also be a factor in baseball is actually getting hit with the ball. Most major league pitchers can hit a speed of 95 miles per hour with their fastball, meaning it can hurt a lot if they miss their target by just a few inches and hit the player. And although the ball is coming off the bat even faster when the player is swinging. Number 5, the actual material and physical construction of the baseball has a huge influence on the game. The red stitches on how the ball moves and affects the curve of the pitch. There are 216 red stitches on the baseball that all move around the ball, connecting the 2 pieces of white cowhide. The movement and construction of these stitches as the ball spins and cuts through the air affects its curve and velocity. And the last issue is Tommy John surgery and how it is performed on now 25% of active pitchers in Major League Baseball. 20% of those, or 1/5, receiving the surgery never make it back to the majors. And this is a concern that so many people are getting injured, and after they're getting the surgery, they're not getting the proper amount of time and recovery for whatever reason. This has been a huge increase in surgery of late, and actually in 2014 alone, there were more Tommy John surgeries performed than all of the 1990s combined. The first Tommy John surgery was performed on Tommy John in 1974, and he ended up having to sit out the whole next season also. Currently now, the average recovery time for Tommy John is 12 months. The scientific issue that we're going to be focusing on here is the reaction time between pitchers and hitters and the relationship and mechanics that go into pitching and hitting. So as we look at the reaction time for the batters, it is affected over time by training. A couple of the important factors to know here is that it's 60 feet 6 inches from the pitcher's mound to home plate. Major league pitches range from either 85 miles per hour on the low side, and a lot of people are hitting 100 miles per hour plus nowadays, making it really tough to hit them and a lot harder to see the ball. The center of mass on a bat is a 2-inch spot in the middle of the barrel where the batter's trying to make the contact with. That's also known as the sweet spot on the ball. As we look into swinging mechanics, the bat speed is the speed at which it makes contact with the ball. The bat velocity is the time it takes to swing the bat from the launch position to the contact point. And in general, with most players, the greater their bat velocity, the weaker their bat quickness is. If you swing harder, you probably connect with the ball less. And on the other hand, the player who makes more contact do so with less velocity. A lot of this has to do with the fleeting motion for the batter and when they must decide if they're going to swing the bat or not. The decision time is the quicker the swing, the more decision time the player technically has to hit the ball. Now we're going to look into part of the science of the swing, and there is a lot of science that actually goes into the swinging of the bat. First, we'll look at some of the dimensions of the bat in the baseball. The bat is 2 1/4 inch in diameter max with a 42-inch max length and an average weight of about 32 ounces. The baseball is 3 inches in diameter and generally weighs 5 to 5 1/4 pounds. If a major league pitcher is throwing 90 miles per hour, the batter will have less than a quarter second to see the pitch. In that same short time frame, they must also make a decision and start swinging. They try to hit the ball in the sweet spot of the bat to maximize not only control but the power. Robert Adair, a Yale physicist, said of hitting a baseball that it is a superhuman feat that is clearly impossible. With this 90 mile per hour pitch, the batter must be looking. It takes 100 milliseconds for the eye of the batter to see the ball and send an image to the brain. As they're thinking, it takes 75 milliseconds for the brain to process that information and gauge the speed and location of the pitch. As they're deciding, they must decide in just 25 milliseconds whether to swing or let the ball go. It then takes another 25 milliseconds to pick a swinging pattern. If they're going to swing high, low, inside, outside, and then they have to start acting on this, and this is where the brain starts sending signals to the legs to start the whole motion from the ground up. And then as they make contact, the bat must meet the 3-inch spinning ball within 1/8 of an inch of dead center at precisely the right millisecond to make contact into the field. The swing itself can take about 150 milliseconds. During the 50 milliseconds, the batter can stop and check his swing after the movement and is too fast, and the batter will not be able to check his swing anymore. The swing involves moving that 2-pound bat at more than 80 miles per hour and delivering up to 9 horsepower of energy. Now we're going to look at why a curveball curves. An athlete must focus because the ball is moving and can deflect 3.4 inches halfway from the pitcher and as many as 14.4 inches by the time it goes to home plate. So a curveball can actually move a lot as it approaches the batter, and because of the air pressure and rotation, the curveball does the majority of its curving in the last 1/4 of its journey from the pitcher of the batter. They must land a well-developed motion and timing to anticipate where the curving ball may land over the plate. And because there are so many different variations of the curveball, the main idea is movement for deception. A pitcher will try to have the ball curve right, left, up, or down, fooling the batter where it is. The pitcher will hold the ball with their middle and index fingers on the stitching with their thumb under the ball. As they throw the ball, it is almost turning in a doorknob-type motion. This is to start the spinning motion during the pitch. After the pitcher throws the ball, due to the ball stitching, it gathers up higher air pressure on one side of the ball, and then it curves the ball to the side of lower pressure. Now we're going to look at how softball compares to baseball And there's many comparisons between the two sports, and we'll actually see if it's even a little bit harder to hit a softball. In softball, the pitcher stands closer to the batter with a distance of 43 feet, opposed to the 60 feet 6 inches in baseball. That means the batter is a lot closer to the pitcher and has less time to react to the ball flying towards them. The pitch in softball is about 70 miles per hour and is said to actually be harder to hit than a baseball coming at you 95 miles per hour due to the distance and reaction time. In softball, the shoulder acts as a fulcrum and the arm is a lever, and you can really generate a lot of force in this circular motion the way that they pitch. The trajectory of the softball pitch also is a little bit different. Opposed from going from high to low like a baseball pitch, it's coming from low to high, and this rising softball is pretty tough to hit and harder to make an adjustment in a split second. With the shorter distance, there's actually only an 88% reaction time in softball relative to that in baseball. Now we're going to go lastly look at some coaching guidelines for pitching, and these should be taken into consideration when training youth baseball players. It is extremely important for coaches and trainers of youth baseball players to stress the importance of proper pitching mechanics. It is also extremely important to manage their workload. As we have learned in our lectures, too much workload can lead to stress, which in turn can lead to injuries. Injuries are never good for any athlete because it limits the amount of time they have on the field. That is why youth pitchers, it is extremely important to monitor how much they are pitching. When a child first starts pitching, they should never be throwing more than 75 pitches a week. Once a child matures and is at the high school level, they should not be pitching more than 2 full games a week. It is also important to not only monitor a youth athlete's pitch count, it is also extremely important how you unfold and teach them their new skills and pitches over time. The fastball is the most basic pitch, and as you look at the charts here, it's in every single pitcher's arsenal at a young age. And as they mature over time, they can begin to learn a larger variety of pitches like sliders, splitters, and lastly the screwball. Thank you all for taking the time to watch my presentation and learn more about the science of baseball and what goes into the mechanics of both pitching and hitting, and how some of these principles can be applied and taught over time to youth baseball players. It is important for the proper foundation and fundamentals to be laid out for the youth so they can be properly developed over time and become the best athletes that they can be. Thank you all again.